Today we are jumping right into one of the most psychologically fascinating passages in the entire Quran. From Surah Al-Baqarah, we're going to look at two completely different ways people react to divine guidance. One is this open, straightforward rejection, and the other, well, it's a much more complicated path of hidden denial.
You know, it all really boils down to this fundamental question, one we've all probably wondered about at some point. You present a message of truth to two people. Why does one person embrace it while the other just completely shuts it down? Is it random, or is there something else going on beneath the surface?
Well, the Quran offers a really nuanced answer to this. It's not a simple one-size-fits-all thing. Instead, right at the beginning of its longest chapter, it gives us this incredible psychological breakdown, pointing out two very distinct ways people reject the message. So let's dive in.
Okay, so first up, we've got the path of just decisive open rejection. We're not talking about someone who's just a little skeptical or confused. No, this is a conscious choice, a kind of rebellion that comes from being absolutely certain in their own way of seeing the world.
The word used for this person is kafir, and it's so important we get what this means. This isn't just someone who's never heard the truth. A kafir is someone who has seen it, understood it, and then actively, deliberately, chooses to cover it up, to bury it. The choice is totally intentional.
And this leads to a really powerful statement about free will. For this group, their rejection has become so core to who they are that their decision is basically final. Their will is locked. At this stage, it doesn't matter if you warn them or not, the message just bounces off this fortress they've built around their own heart.
Now, making a choice like that has a direct spiritual result. The Quran describes it as a sealing of their ability to even perceive reality. Their hearts, which are the center of understanding, get sealed. Their hearing is blocked. A veil is put over their sight. And this isn't presented as some kind of random punishment. It's shown as the natural result of their own stubborn choice. It's like their spiritual senses just atrophy because they refuse to use them.
Okay, but then there's the second group, and this is where the psychology gets way more complex. These people don't reject the message out in the open. Nope, they work from the shadows, choosing a path of hidden denial. They're called the hypocrites, or in Arabic, the munafiq.
And right away, we see their main problem laid bare. In public, they say all the right things. Oh yeah, we believe in God and the last day. But right after they say that, the text gives this blunt verdict. But they are not believers. There's this huge gap between the face they show the world and what's really going on inside.
So their whole game is built on deception. They're trying to fool God, they're trying to fool the community. But here's the crazy part. The only person they end up fooling is themselves. It's totally self-destructive, and the most tragic thing is, they don't even realize it's happening.
To really get inside this mindset, the Quran uses this powerful medical metaphor. It diagnoses their condition not as just some flaw in their character, but as actually a spiritual illness that's actually getting worse over time.
This disease is a profound insincerity, a kind of duplicity that's taken root in their very core. And here's the really chilling part of this diagnosis. The more they lean into this hypocrisy, the worse the disease gets. Their own lies and deception are like fuel for the fire, making the sickness spread until it consumes them from the inside out. And here you can see just how warped their self-perception is. When they're called out for causing chaos and corruption, their response is, "What are you talking about? We're the ones fixing things." Their pride is just off the charts. Then, when they're told to believe with the same simple sincerity as everyone else, their arrogance kicks in and they scoff, "What, should we believe like those fools?" And in both cases, the text just flips it right back on them, making it clear that they are the real corruptors, and they are the real fools, totally blinded by their own ego.
The passage then frames their choice, using the language of business, and let me tell you, it's the worst trade imaginable. They have willingly purchased error, and they paid for it with true guidance. So what's the return on that investment? Absolutely nothing. No profit, and now they're completely lost.
And as if that wasn't clear enough, the passage then gives us two incredibly powerful parables. These stories paint a vivid picture of what's really going on in the inner world of the hypocrite.
The first parable is all about this sharp contrast between a brief flash of light and a permanent, deep darkness.
So just picture it. Someone lights a fire, and for a second, things are great. The light of faith gives them some kind of worldly benefit, maybe social status, security, an advantage. But because their belief is just a tool, because it's not sincere, that light doesn't last. It gets snuffed out, and they're plunged back into this deep spiritual darkness where they are totally and utterly lost.
And what happens in that darkness? A complete shutdown of their spiritual senses. They become deaf to the truth, They become mute when it comes to speaking it, and they become blind to its signs. This state is so total, the verse says, that they can't find their way back.
The second parable is just as intense. It describes their relationship with revelation, but instead of it being like a life-giving rain, for them, it's like being caught in a terrifying storm.
Now think about it. Rain is almost always a symbol of mercy, of life. But for them, the very thing that's supposed to bring spiritual life feels like a storm full of darkness and fear. The thunder represents the powerful warnings in the revelation, which they stick their fingers in their ears to try and block out. And the lightning? Those are the brief flashes of clarity, or maybe a worldly opportunity they can grab.
And this tells you everything about how they operate. They are total opportunists. They only move when there's a flash of lightning, a moment of personal gain that lights up their path. But the second it gets dark again, the second things get tough, they're paralyzed. They just freeze, stuck in confusion and unable to act. Their entire engagement with faith is purely conditional. It's all about what's in it for them.
So we've walked through these two very different psychologies of rejection. Now let's pull all these threads together and see what the ultimate price of these choices really is. So let's just lay it out, side by side. On one hand, you have the disbeliever. Theirs is an external battle, an open, stubborn rebellion. Their action is a conscious rejection, and the consequence is that their spiritual senses get sealed shut. Then you have the hypocrite. Theirs is an internal battle, a hidden, two-faced rebellion that leads to deception. The consequence for them is that slow, spreading spiritual disease. So while one is like an open war and the other is like a slow poison, the end result is the same, a profound spiritual blindness.
And that right there is the core lesson. It doesn't matter if it's through open defiance or through hidden deception. These verses are making it crystal clear that our ability to perceive spiritual truth is directly connected to the choices we make. Turning away from guidance one way or the other will eventually lead to a complete inability to see the truth at all. Which leaves us with one final big question to think about. If the deepest kind of blindness is the one we put on ourselves through things like deception and pride, what does that tell us about the path to actually seeing clearly? What, then, is the kind of sincerity it takes to have true sight?